The massive silhouette of the Galactic Space Council's diplomatic vessel cast a shadow over Earth's moon as it emerged from hyperspace. The vessel's crystalline structure gleamed under the distant sunlight, its hull adorned with markings representing 1,000 different alien civilizations. Inside the ship's primary observation deck, High Counselor Dax stood tall, his iridescent scales shifting colors as he watched the blue planet through the viewport. Another primitive world, Dax muttered to his subordinates. Look at their crude satellites. They barely understand the basics of space travel. His four-fingered hand waved dismissively at the various human-made objects orbiting Earth. The Council's ship's AI had already begun its standard scan of Earth's technology level. It was a routine procedure they had performed countless times before when adding new species to their protectorate. The Council had perfected this process over millennia. Arrive, demonstrate superiority, offer protection, and slowly absorb the new civilization into their carefully controlled hierarchy. But something was different this time. High Counselor, one of the sensor operators, called out, their tentacles writhing in confusion. We're detecting unusual energy patterns from their orbital platforms. The signatures, they don't match anything in our database. Dax frowned, his scales shifting to a deeper blue. Impossible. Their technology is centuries behind ours. Run the scan again. On Earth, in the newly constructed International Space Defense Command Center in Seoul, Administrator Tadwan stood before a wall of monitors displaying the alien vessel. His weathered face remained calm, but his fingers drummed nervously against his leg. Next to him, Dr. Hei-yun adjusted her glasses, her eyes fixed on the energy readings from their visitor. They're scanning us, Hei-yun said quietly, just as we predicted they would. Should we power up the platforms? Tadwan nodded slowly. Do it, but only at 5% capacity. Let's not show all our cards just yet. Throughout Earth's orbit, carefully concealed defense platforms hummed to life. Inside each one, specially designed chambers began the controlled process of dark matter manipulation, humanity's greatest scientific achievement, kept secret from the world until now. Back on the Council ship, alarms began blaring. The sensor operator's tentacles turned pale. High Counselor, we're detecting. This can't be right. We're detecting stabilized dark matter signatures. Dax rushed to the console, shoving the operator aside. His scales shifted rapidly between colors as he studied the readings. Impossible, he whispered. They're barely into their space age. They can't possibly have mastered dark matter containment. Even we haven't achieved that. The Council's diplomatic vessel adjusted its position, bringing more sensors to bear on Earth's orbital platforms. As they did, a transmission came through their communications array. Greetings, representatives of the Galactic Space Council. Administrator Tawan's voice came through, translated perfectly by their systems. We've been expecting you. We request permission to board your vessel for diplomatic discussions. Dax stared at the human transport ship approaching their vessel. It was small, seemingly primitive, but his sensors told a different story. The human ship's power core contained perfectly stabilized dark matter, something that should have been scientifically impossible for their level of development. When the human delegation arrived in the Council ship's docking bay, Dax found himself face to face with Administrator Tadwan and Dr. Hei-yun. The humans showed no fear, no awe at the advanced technology surrounding them. Instead, they carried themselves with quiet confidence. Welcome aboard, Dax said, trying to maintain his air of superiority despite his growing unease. We've come to offer Earth the protection and guidance of the Galactic Space Council. Taiwan smiled politely. That's very kind. However, we believe we might have some things to teach the Council as well. He gestured to Dr. Hei-yun, who pulled out a small device from her pocket. A demonstration, perhaps? Hei-yun asked. Activating the device, a small sphere of pure darkness appeared above it, suspended in midair, perfectly contained dark matter. Dax's scales turned white with shock. The impossibility of what he was seeing challenged everything he thought he knew about technological progression. These humans, these supposedly primitive humans, had achieved something the Council had deemed impossible. As the demonstration concluded, Taiwan's smile remained diplomatic, but his eyes held a hint of satisfaction. Now then, shall we discuss Earth's position in the galaxy as equals? In that moment, as Dax looked between the contained dark matter and the confident expressions of the human delegates, he realized that the Council's routine mission of absorption had just become something very different indeed. Humanity had changed the rules of the game, and the galaxy would never be the same. The first contact between Earth and the Galactic Space Council ended not with humanity being added to a protectorate, but with the Council experiencing something they hadn't felt in thousands of years: uncertainty. As Taiwan and Heiyun began their diplomatic discussions, the message was clear. Humanity would not be taking a subordinate role in galactic affairs. They had earned their place among the stars, one dark matter particle at a time. The late-night silence in the underground laboratory was broken only by the soft hum of quantum computers and the occasional beeping of monitoring equipment. Dr. Heiyun stood before the containment chamber, her tired eyes fixed on the swirling darkness within. Behind her, the digital clock on the wall showed 3:47 a.m., another sleepless night in humanity's quest to harness dark matter. The containment field is holding steady at 99.8%, Jaiho announced from his workstation, his voice carrying a mix of excitement and disbelief. These readings, they're unlike anything we've ever seen. Su-min rushed over to the main console, her fingers flying across the holographic display. Energy output is stable. No quantum fluctuations detected. Dr. Heiyun, I think we've actually done it this time. The team had spent 5 years working in this secret facility beneath the mountains of Daejin. While the world above remained unaware, they had pursued what many considered scientific madness, the perfect containment and control of dark matter. Their approach had been unconventional, even laughable by traditional standards. Heiyun remembered how her theories had been mocked at her last public conference. "You can't approach quantum mechanics like a cooking recipe," they had said. But that was exactly what her team had done, treating quantum states like ingredients that could be mixed, balanced, and stabilized through precise combinations. "Run the field stress test," Heiyun ordered, her voice steady despite her racing heart. They had come close to success before, only to watch their containment fields collapse catastrophically. Each failure had taught them something new, but the cost in equipment and morale had been high. The containment chamber hummed louder as Jaiho initiated the test sequence. Dark matter within the chamber swirled faster, pressing against the quantum barriers that held it in place. Previous attempts had always failed at this point, the mysterious substance proving impossible to truly contain. But this time was different. Field integrity holding at 100% under maximum stress. Su-min's voice cracked with emotion. "The quantum barriers are actually strengthening under pressure. It's like the dark matter is helping to contain itself." Heiyun stepped closer to the chamber, studying the perfect sphere of darkness floating within. Their breakthrough had come from understanding that dark matter wasn't just something to be caged, it needed to be convinced to stay put. The quantum fields they had designed didn't fight against the dark matter's natural tendencies, but worked with them instead. The laboratory doors slid open, and Fleet Commander Han Gill strode in, his military uniform looking crisp despite the early hour. He had been monitoring their progress from the facility's command center, waiting for this moment. "Show me," he said simply, moving to stand beside Heiyun. Heiyun nodded to Jaiho, who initiated the mobility test. The sphere of contained dark matter moved smoothly within the chamber, following precise patterns. Up, down, left, right. Perfect control in all dimensions. "Now watch this," Heiyun said, entering a command sequence. The dark matter sphere split into smaller spheres, each one perfectly contained and controlled. "We can divide it, reshape it, and even..." She pressed another button, and the spheres merged back together. "Recombine it at will." Hangil's stoic expression cracked slightly, showing a glimpse of amazement. Can it be weaponized? That's not the most impressive part, Su Min interrupted, bringing up a new set of data on the main screen. The energy output from this amount of contained dark matter could power all of Seoul for a year. And that's just from a sphere the size of a tennis ball. The military commander walked slowly around the containment chamber, his mind clearly racing with possibilities. A ship powered by this, it would revolutionize space travel. And if we could harness this energy as a weapon system, it would change everything. He-yun finished his thought. Traditional energy shields would be useless against weapons that can manipulate space itself. But more importantly, it would give us faster-than-light travel capabilities far beyond what we've achieved with conventional methods. Hangil turned to face the team, his expression now deadly serious. How soon can you scale this up? We'll need bigger facilities, more resources, Jaiho said, already calculating requirements in his head. But now that we've cracked the basic principles, scaling up is just an engineering challenge. You'll have whatever you need, Hangil promised. This stays completely classified. Level Alpha security protocols are now in effect. As the commander left to make arrangements, He-yun turned back to the containment chamber. The dark matter continued its peaceful dance within, unaware that it would soon change the course of human history. Their primitive approach to quantum mechanics had led them to this breakthrough. Proof that sometimes the simplest solutions were the best ones. 6 months later, when the Galactic Space Council arrived, they would find not a primitive civilization, but a species that had unlocked one of the universe's greatest mysteries. Humanity's unique approach to science, combining intuition with innovation, had achieved what the galaxy's finest minds had deemed impossible. In the depths of that mountain laboratory, watching their achievement glow with possibilities, He-yun and her team didn't yet know they would soon shock the galaxy. They only knew they had opened a door that could never be closed, and through it lay humanity's future among the stars. The dark side of the moon held humanity's greatest secret. Hidden beneath the surface of the Shackleton crater, massive shipyards stretched through underground caverns, their existence concealed from the Council's prying eyes. In these dimly lit chambers, Earth's first true warships were taking shape. Admiral Lee-jun stood at the observation deck overlooking the primary construction bay, watching as workers in zero-gravity suits attached dark matter containment systems to the hull of the ENS Nightshade. The massive vessel would be humanity's first dark matter-powered dreadnought, and its very existence violated at least 6 different council regulations. The integration tests are complete, Dr. He-yun announced as she floated up to join him. The dark matter drive is performing beyond our expectations. We've managed to increase power output by another 30%. The Admiral nodded, his eyes fixed on the ship below. And the Council's inspectors, still busy examining our primitive fusion facilities in Nevada, He-yun replied with a slight smile. They're so convinced of our technological inferiority that they're missing what's right under their noses. Above them, on the Council's diplomatic vessel orbiting Earth, Del stood before High Counselor Dax's desk, his sensor readings displayed in holographic form between them. Something isn't right, Del insisted, his antennae twitching with agitation. These energy signatures from the moon's far side. They're too irregular to be natural, but too faint to be clearly identified. Dax waved a dismissive hand. The humans are cooperating fully with our inspections. Their technology is precisely what we'd expect from a species at their development stage. But, sir, their dark matter containment was a single breakthrough, Dax interrupted. A fortunate accident they barely understand. Focus on the trade negotiations. The humans are eager to gain access to our basic space travel technology. Back in the lunar shipyards, Captain Minji walked through the corridors of her future command. The Nightshade was unlike anything humanity had built before. Its sleek design incorporated everything they had learned about dark matter manipulation, from its weapons systems to its stealth capabilities. The artificial gravity is holding steady, A technician reported as Minji entered the bridge. All dark matter containment systems are running at optimal levels. Minji ran her hand along the captain's chair, feeling the responsibility of her command settling onto her shoulders. The Nightshade wasn't just a ship, it was humanity's insurance policy against Council dominance. In another section of the shipyard, work continued on 5 more dreadnoughts. Teams of engineers and scientists worked around the clock, racing against the possibility of discovery. Every few hours, sensor scramblers would activate, creating a brief window where the Council's monitoring systems would be completely blind to their activities. "Admiral," a communications officer called out, "we're receiving word that Council Inspector Dell is requesting permission to establish a monitoring station on the lunar surface." Yi Jun exchanged glances with He Yun. "Deny the request, citing environmental protection protocols. Have our diplomatic team schedule another round of cultural exchange presentations." The deception was elaborate but necessary. While Council representatives were being entertained with demonstrations of Earth's primitive space technology, the real advances were happening in secret. Every diplomatic dinner, every trade discussion, every cultural exchange bought them more time to build their fleet. "The weapons systems are ready for testing," He Yun reported later that day. "We've modified the dark matter projectors to create localized space-time distortions. In theory, they should be able to bypass any known form of shielding." The Admiral watched as technicians loaded the last of the dark matter containment pods into the Nightshade's weapon bays. "And if we're discovered before we're ready?" "The Nightshade can be battle-ready in 6 hours," Minji answered, joining their conversation. "The emergency protocols are in place. One word from command, and we can have her launched and operational." On the Council ship, Dell couldn't shake his suspicions. He studied the lunar readings again, trying to make sense of the strange energy patterns. The humans were hiding something. He was sure of it, but every time he got close to pinpointing the source, the signatures would vanish, only to reappear hours later in a slightly different configuration. As the Earth's night side passed over the Korean peninsula, work in the lunar shipyards continued unabated. The Nightshade's dark matter core pulsed with power as final systems checks were performed. In her private quarters, Captain Minji reviewed combat simulations, preparing for a confrontation she hoped would never come. Admiral Yi Jun made one final inspection of the shipyard before retiring for the night. The sight of 6 nearly completed dreadnoughts filled him with both pride and anxiety. They were gambling everything on secrecy and surprise. If the Council discovered their true capabilities too soon, before the fleet was ready. But as he watched the Nightshade's dark matter drive power up for another test sequence, he knew they had passed the point of no return. Humanity would not submit to becoming another protected species in the Council's collection. They would meet the galaxy as equals, or they would meet it as adversaries. The fate of Earth now rested in the shadows of the moon, where humanity's dark matter fleet grew stronger with each passing day. High Counselor Dax's scales had turned a deep crimson as he paced the Council ship's command deck. After 6 months of mounting suspicions and diplomatic games, his patience had finally snapped. The latest sensor readings from Earth's moon had confirmed his aide Dell's worst fears. The humans had been deceiving them all along. "Send the transmission," Dax commanded, his voice cold with fury. "Let's see how these primitives respond to a real show of force." On Earth, in the International Space Defense Command Center, Admiral Yi Jun sat calmly as the Council's message played across the main screen. Behind him, Captain Minji stood at attention, her expression neutral despite the gravity of the moment. "People of Earth," Dax's translated voice boomed through the command center. "Your experiments with dark matter technology have gone too far. You lack the experience and wisdom to handle such dangerous forces. The Council hereby demands the immediate surrender of all dark matter research and technology. You have 6 Earth hours to comply, or we will be forced to take military action." As if to emphasize the threat, 3 massive Council warships emerged from hyperspace, joining their diplomatic vessel in Earth orbit. Their weapons systems powered up, creating an impressive display of force. Admiral E. Jun took a slow sip from his coffee cup before setting it down. "Send our response," he said quietly. On the Council's command ship, Dax waited smugly for Earth's surrender. Instead, his sensor operators suddenly began shouting in alarm. "High Counselor, multiple vessels emerging from the moon's dark side." The Ennis Nightshade led the formation, its dark hull seeming to absorb the starlight around it. 5 more dreadnoughts followed in perfect formation, their dark matter drives creating distortions in space that made them appear to flicker in and out of reality. "Impossible," Dax whispered, his scales shifting to pale yellow in shock. Admiral E. Jun's voice came through the Council's communication system, calm and measured. "The people of Earth have considered your ultimatum, High Counselor. Perhaps a demonstration will help inform your decision-making process." Captain Minji, standing on the Nightshade's bridge, gave a slight nod to her weapons officer. "Target the asteroid designated Alpha 1. Low power, if you please. We wouldn't want to frighten our guests too much." The Nightshade's dark matter weapons powered up, creating a visible distortion in space. A beam of pure darkness lanced out, striking the nearby asteroid. Instead of exploding, the massive rock simply ceased to exist, the space it occupied folding in on itself before smoothly returning to normal. On the Council ship, Dell's antennae went rigid with fear. "High Counselor, they've achieved weapons-grade dark matter manipulation. Our shields would be useless against that level of space-time distortion. This is your only warning." Admiral E. Jun's voice continued. "Earth will not surrender its sovereignty or its technology. We are prepared to defend ourselves if necessary." The 6 Earth dreadnoughts moved into an attack formation, their dark matter drives creating a web of spatial distortions that the Council's sensors couldn't penetrate. Each ship was a perfect blend of human ingenuity and dark matter technology, representing a leap forward that had taken the galaxy completely by surprise. Dax gripped his command chair, his mind racing. The humans hadn't just achieved dark matter containment. They had weaponized it, built a fleet in secret, and developed capabilities that the Council had thought impossible. Everything he had assumed about Earth's technological level had been wrong. "Your response, High Counselor," Admiral E. Jun prompted. "Should we arrange for a more detailed demonstration of our capabilities?" In the tense silence that followed, Captain Minji allowed herself a small smile. The Nightshade's sensors showed the Council warships' weapons powering down. Their bluff had been called, and now the galaxy would have to accept a new reality. Humanity would not be subjugated. "Perhaps," Dax finally responded, his scales shifting to a diplomatic blue, "we should resume our discussions on more equal terms." "A wise choice," Admiral E. Jun agreed. "Captain Minji will escort your vessel to our lunar facility. I believe it's time we showed you what humanity is truly capable of." As the Earth fleet took up escort positions around the Council ships, the balance of power in the galaxy shifted. Humanity had emerged from the shadows, armed with technology that would change everything. The age of Council dominance was over, and a new era was about to begin. In the Nightshade's bridge, Minji watched the Council ships fall into formation. "Send word to the lunar base," she ordered. "Tell them to prepare for visitors. It's time to show the galaxy who we really are." The dark matter drives of Earth's fleet pulsed in unison, a display of power and precision that left no doubt about humanity's newfound position in the cosmic order. The ultimatum had backfired, and now the Council would have to face a future they hadn't planned for, one where humanity stood as equals among the stars. The massive Arcturus jump gate hung in space like a glowing ring, its ancient technology controlling access to Earth's solar system. Before it, spread in battle formation, 40 Council warships formed a blockade. Their energy shields shimmered with power, creating a seemingly impenetrable barrier. Captain Minji stood on the Nightshade's bridge, studying the tactical display. Behind her ship, the rest of Earth's dark matter fleet waited in formation. 6 dreadnoughts against 40 Council ships. On paper, it looked like suicide. "Council ships are broadcasting their final warning," her communications officer reported. "They're demanding our immediate surrender." Minji's eyes narrowed as she watched energy readings from the enemy fleet. "Send no response. Alert Admiral Yijun that we're moving into position." The Nightshade glided forward, its dark matter drive creating ripples in spacetime that made targeting systems struggle to lock onto it. The Council fleet responded immediately, their weapon ports glowing with charged plasma. "They're powering up their main guns," the tactical officer announced. "Multiple target locks detected." Minji allowed herself a small smile. "Let them fire first. Let's show them why their old ways of fighting don't work anymore." The Council fleet opened fire, filling space with streams of plasma and energy beams. The Nightshade didn't attempt to dodge. Instead, its dark matter field activated, and the incoming fire simply disappeared, the energy absorbed into microscopic folds in spacetime. "All ships, execute pattern Sigma." Admiral Yijun's voice came through the command channel. "Show them what we can do." The Earth fleet split into 3 groups, moving in ways that should have been impossible. The dark matter drives allowed them to make turns without inertia, to accelerate without momentum. Physics itself seemed to bend around their ships. "Weapons free," Minji ordered. "Target their command shield generators. Low power, precision strikes only." The Nightshade's dark matter weapons created beams of pure darkness that sliced through the Council ship shields as if they weren't there. The targeted systems simply ceased to exist, leaving perfect spherical voids in the hull. Panic spread through the Council fleet as they realized their defensive technology, the backbone of their military superiority for millennia, was useless against these new weapons. Ships began breaking formation, trying to establish new defensive positions. "They're attempting to regroup," Minji's tactical officer reported. "Their flagship is signaling for reinforcements." Admiral Yijun's voice crackled over the comm. "Captain Minji, execute Maneuver Darkstar. Let's show them what these ships can really do." The Nightshade's dark matter drive pulsed, and suddenly the massive ship was moving in ways that made Council gunners sick to watch. It seemed to be in multiple places at once, its form flickering between points in space as local spacetime warped around it. Council ships fired desperately, their shots passing through empty space as the Earth vessels danced between their targeting solutions. Every return shot from the dark matter weapons found its mark, systematically disabling key systems without destroying the ships themselves. "Sir," a Council officer shouted to his commander. "The humans, they're not trying to destroy us. They're toying with us." He was right. The Earth fleet was deliberately holding back, demonstrating their superiority without causing unnecessary casualties. Each precision strike proved that they could have easily destroyed the Council ships if they'd wanted to. Minji watched as another Council vessel lost its weapons systems to a carefully placed shot. Status of the jump gate. "Council reinforcements are attempting to come through," her sensor officer reported. "But our dark matter field is disrupting the gate's stability. Nothing can get in or out until we allow it." The battle had become a demonstration, not of firepower, but of absolute technological superiority. Council ships, their shields useless and their weapons ineffective, began powering down one by one. The message was clear: resistance was pointless. "Council flagship is broadcasting a surrender signal," the communications officer announced, trying to hide a grin. Admiral Yijun's voice filled the command channel. "Accept their surrender. Inform them that the blockade is over. Earth's ships will come and go as we please." As Minji watched the Council fleet retreat, their once proud ships now humbled and battle-scarred, she thought about how this battle would be remembered. It wasn't just a victory. It was the end of an era. The galaxy would never be the same. "Send word to Earth," she ordered. "The Arcturus gate is secure. And make sure the Council understands. This was just a small demonstration of what we're capable of." The Nightshade's dark matter drive pulsed one final time, creating a ripple in spacetime that the retreating Council ships could detect on their sensors. A reminder that humanity's technology wasn't just advanced, it was revolutionary. The Battle of Arcturus Gate would be studied in military academies across the galaxy for generations to come. Not for its destruction or casualties, but for how it proved that humanity's different approach to physics and warfare had changed the rules forever. The age of energy shields and plasma weapons was over. The era of dark matter technology had begun. The Grand Council chamber on Europa Station buzzed with tension as representatives from 17 alien species waited for Earth's diplomatic delegation to arrive. Commander Sung Ho's footsteps echoed through the vast hall as he approached the central podium, flanked by 2 officers from the Nightshade. News of the Battle of Arcturus Gate had spread faster than light itself through the galaxy's communication networks. The Centaurian Empire wishes to open exclusive negotiations with Earth, announced a tall, crystalline being, not even waiting for formal introductions to begin. We offer trade rights to 3 star systems in exchange for dark matter technology consultation. Before Sung Ho could respond, a representative of the Proxima Collective jumped to their feet. We offer 5 systems and unrestricted access to our quantum computing networks. Sung Ho raised his hand for silence, his expression remaining carefully neutral. Earth is not interested in exclusive agreements. Our technology sharing program will be open to all species who commit to peaceful cooperation. In another part of the galaxy, aboard what remained of the Council's central command station, High Counselor Dax watched his authority crumble. Holographic displays showed dozens of member species withdrawing from military alliances, each seeking their own path to Earth's new technology. "They're making a mistake," Dax hissed to his remaining loyal commanders. "These humans cannot be trusted with such power. They're too young, too unpredictable." Dell, his former aide, now spoke up in opposition. "With respect, High Counselor, it was our underestimation of humanity that brought us to this point. Perhaps it's time to accept the new reality." Back on Europa Station, Sung Ho navigated the complex web of diplomatic requests with careful precision. Each species brought their own agenda, their own fears, and their own hopes to the table. Some sought military alliances, others scientific cooperation, and a few simply wanted assurance that Earth wouldn't turn its dark matter weapons against them. Earth proposes a new framework for galactic cooperation, Sung Ho announced to the assembled representatives. One based on mutual respect and shared advancement, not dominance and control. But even as new alliances were being forged, danger lurked in the shadows. High Counselor Dax had secretly gathered every remaining loyal ship in the Council's fleet. In his command center, he reviewed the battle plan one final time. "If we strike their solar system from multiple vectors simultaneously," he explained to his commanders, "even their dark matter ships can't be everywhere at once." What Dax didn't know was that Earth's intelligence network had grown considerably since the Arcturus Gate battle. Commander Sung Ho received the warning during a diplomatic dinner with Centaurian delegates. "Let them come," he said quietly into his communicator. "Show them what we've been building." When Dax's fleet arrived, expecting to find Earth's 6 original dreadnoughts, they instead faced 20 dark matter warships. The new vessels emerged from hidden shipyards throughout the solar system, their designs even more advanced than the original Nightshade. "High Counselor," one of Dax's sensor officers reported, voice trembling, "they've completely surrounded us. Our sensors can't even track their movements anymore." Commander Sung Ho's voice broadcasted across all frequencies. "High Counselor Dax, your time is over. The Council as you knew it is finished. Surrender now and let us build something better together." The sight of Earth's expanded fleet, moving with impossible grace through space, broke what remained of Dax's authority. His own ships began powering down weapons, crews refusing to fight what they saw as a futile battle. In the aftermath, Commander Sung Ho stood before the galactic representatives again, but this time with a different message. "Today marks the end of an era of fear and control. Earth offers its knowledge not as a weapon, but as a tool for advancement. The choice is yours. Remain bound by old limitations or join us in exploring what's possible." One by one, Species that had once been bitter rivals found themselves sitting at the same table, united by the promise of dark matter technology. Earth's diplomatic corps worked tirelessly, helping forge new alliances and mediating ancient disputes. Dax, stripped of his position and influence, watched from detention as his carefully maintained power structure dissolved. The species he had once controlled now charted their own courses, guided but not dominated by humanity's example. Commander Sung Ho's final address to the new alliance summed up the transformation. We never wanted to rule the galaxy. We simply refused to be ruled. Now let's see what we can achieve together. The political fallout from Earth's rise reshaped the galaxy's power structure completely. But unlike the Council's reign of control and restriction, this new era promised something different, a future where advancement came through cooperation, not domination. As the last of the old Council's influence faded, ships from a dozen species gathered around Earth's orbital stations, their crews eager to learn and share. The dark matter revolution had done more than change technology. It had changed the very nature of galactic politics itself. The gleaming spires of New Geneva Station stretched out against the backdrop of Earth, its crystalline structures housing the headquarters of the reformed Galactic Council. High Ambassador Taiwan stood at the central chamber's window, watching ships from 24 species moving through the traffic lanes. Each vessel incorporated some level of dark matter technology, their drives creating subtle ripples in space-time that would have been impossible just a year ago. The Proxima delegation has arrived, his aide announced, and Dr. He Yun's first graduating class is ready for the ceremony. In the massive lecture hall of the Galactic Institute of Dark Matter Studies, Dr. He Yun looked out at her students, a mix of humans and aliens, all united by their desire to understand the technology that had changed everything. The sight would have been unimaginable during those secret days in the mountain laboratory. Your challenge, she addressed the graduates, is not just to master this technology, but to find new ways to use it for the benefit of all species. Dark matter manipulation was just the beginning. Across the station, Captain Minji, now Admiral Minji, conducted a tactical review for military officers from 15 different species. The Battle of Arcturus Gate played out in holographic detail above their heads. The key was not the technology itself, she explained, but how we thought about space and time differently. Old tactics died that day, along with old assumptions about what was possible. The reformed council chamber buzzed with activity as representatives debated new proposals for technological cooperation. Unlike the old council's rigid hierarchy, this new organization operated on principles of shared advancement and mutual respect. High Ambassador Taiwan took his place at the central podium. 1 year ago, we stood divided. Today, we face the future united. The dark matter revolution showed us what's possible when we challenge our limitations. In orbit around Mars, the first joint species shipyard produced vessels that combined technologies from a dozen worlds. Human dark matter drives worked alongside Centaurian crystal computers and Proxima quantum sensors. Each ship represented not just technological advancement, but the new spirit of cooperation. We've detected signals from beyond the galactic rim, a science officer reported during the council session. With our combined dark matter drive systems, we could reach them within months instead of centuries. Dr. He Yun's institute had become a hub of innovation, where different species shared their unique perspectives on physics and technology. Breakthroughs occurred almost daily as ancient knowledge combined with new ideas. The humans taught us to question everything we thought we knew, a crystalline student observed during graduation. Even our mistakes led to new discoveries. Admiral Minji's tactical innovations had transformed space warfare theory, but more importantly, they had made large-scale conflicts almost obsolete. The shared understanding of dark matter technology created a balance that encouraged diplomacy over aggression. When everyone has the same fundamental capabilities, she told her students, you find better ways to resolve differences. The station's observation deck offered a view of Earth's dark matter fleet conducting exercises alongside ships from former rival species. Their synchronized movements created patterns in space-time itself, a display of unity and precision that reflected the new galactic order. Remember, High Ambassador Taiwan addressed the Council. Our strength lies not in the technology we possess, but in our willingness to share it, to learn from each other, and to grow together. Dr. He Yun's research teams had already begun exploring applications beyond space travel and defense. Dark matter manipulation promised solutions to energy crises, environmental challenges, and medical limitations that had plagued all species. The universe is vast, she told her graduating class, but our combined knowledge makes it accessible in ways we never imagined possible. As the ceremony concluded, ships from every member species performed a synchronized jump to dark matter drive, creating a spectacular display visible from the station. The sight represented everything the new order stood for: unity, advancement, and shared purpose. In his private office, High Ambassador Taiwan reviewed reports from across the galaxy. Trade routes that once took years to traverse were now connected by dark matter corridors. Species that had never met due to vast distances were now regular trading partners. We didn't just change technology, he reflected to his staff. We changed how the galaxy thinks about possibility itself. The reformed Galactic Council had become what its predecessor never could: a true forum for cooperation and advancement. Earth's rise had shown that progress came not from control and restriction, but from sharing knowledge and challenging boundaries. As the day ended on New Geneva Station, the combined fleet returned from their display, their dark matter drives pulsing in harmony. The sight served as a reminder that the greatest revolution hadn't been in technology at all. It had been in bringing together the galaxy's species in pursuit of a shared future among the stars.